nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them all about how they're using data to solve the world's problems. We're sharing all the tips, tricks, and nerdy fun bits to make you the best data analyst you can be. I'll start off by saying Happy New Year. It's 2025. It's not really, but this episode's not going to air until the new year, so we're just going to pretend it's in the new year. So last year, we kicked off with a recap episode, and Ramona said that it would be really awesome to make it a tradition, so we are going to continue that tradition. So with us today, back at it, is Ramona Trutha. How are you doing today, Ramona?
Hey, Monica. Happy New Year, everyone. I brought champagne. Not really,
Ooh.
but it's juice. It's Happy New Year and happy beginning of the third season, Monica. Congratulations. I am truly, truly happy for you. I see the new design. It's awesome. I love the colors that you choose, the brightness and everything. And yes, I know you're very creative. You're having a lot of fun with this, so it's really lovely. And here's to an awesome year in all aspects of your life for everyone watching. Every nerd's there. Here's to a new year with nerd nourishment, and cheers to everyone, health and happiness, and well, everything that comes with it. Because
Thank you so much, Ramona. So for those folks out there that may be new to the podcast, can you please give us a quick origin story, background about who you are and why you love data so much?
I think I came into this world crunching numbers. Not really. But, no, that's me being silly. I've always loved math, and I have been pursuing. I've thought I was pursuing a math career, and then I ended up doing computer science, and I discovered data management by my third year, and I really loved it. It was my absolute favorite course in university, and really my path took me to the database research group at University of Toronto, where I completed my graduate studies. And then I started teaching those courses in that department. And so I was training the brightest minds in data.
That's awesome.
So it's a great place to be in. And now in the past years, I've been transitioning more on the AI side. Well, you cannot have AI without data, so it's a natural transition. Oh, and before I forget, I brought some little friends with me. Monica loves ducks. I mean, every nerd loves ducks. We like to chat with them. So these are the tiniest that I have. You can see they are. This one in particular is very special to me. I got it in a trip in El Salvador. So it's handmade by artisans there. It's the size of my thumbnail. So it's very special. And they are too precious, but they bring me joy. And we solve data problems together.
Oh, good. Do they help you out a lot?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. So, Monica, I'm first of all, I'm really pumped that we are continuing with this tradition of recapping the year. It's been a tremendous year for you, and maybe you wanna take us through the year and the awesome new things that you have done, the changes that you've implemented, and really I guess the core of the year was adaptability, right? When we are chatting about this. So we're gonna take it there in a minute. But just to start off, tell us about your amazing 2024 and all the amazing accomplishments and everything that came your way.
I will. It was a very jam-packed year, and I was putting together kind of my Spotify wrapped version of Nerd Nourishment and just amazed at all of what we were able to accomplish and all of the people that I got to meet and to talk with on the podcast. So my first season of the podcast started in 2023. It was mostly just interviewing all of the worker bees and understanding what they do in their jobs. And for season 2, I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit and start interviewing management and getting a kind of behind the scenes kind of knowledge into what it is that they're looking for in new candidates for data analytics positions. And we talked to all kinds of wonderful people. Some included Santona Tooley, Lindsay Murphy, and also Dr. Serena Wong. And it was just such good discussions about what they're looking for to help out those data analysts or aspiring data analysts in the field. And I also was able to actually interview a lot of what I consider epic guests. They really made me fangirl out, some of them, and it was just so fun to get to meet those people in real life as well. I took a trip in March to South Carolina where there was, I think, about like 30-ish of data professionals that I have been talking with on LinkedIn for years. And I finally got to meet them in real life, in person, and got to interview a lot of those folks as well on the podcast throughout the year. So it was an epic year.
Yeah, it really sounds epic. And I remember seeing those pictures from the South Carolina trip. And it was some anniversary of somebody or 100 episode or something. I don't know, Avery Smith or something.
Yes.
Yes. And tell us a little, if you want to share a little bit or like the highlights or.
Absolutely. I think it was kind of surreal to be talking with these folks online for years and then being able to see them in person and have a more close connection and more, I would say, casual chats about not only data, but about what we're doing in our lives and whatnot. I think one of the best moments. It was all best moments, but I remember when I first got there and I was hanging out outside. There wasn't very many of us. And Josh Starmer came around the corner and yelled my name. He was like, "Hi, Monica." And I look over and I've been following Josh Starmer on YouTube and LinkedIn for years. If you don't know, he has a YouTube channel, StatQuest, where I've learned a ton about everything. He makes all kinds of complex topics super, super simple, and he's really, really fun about it. He has songs and he has characters, and it's such a great time. So to be able to meet with him in person was I think my most fangirl moment I had.
Yes, I'm familiar with his work, and he's highly cited. It's different when you get to share your personal life, your passions, right? Because there is life outside of this, even though it's intertwined.
Yes.
It's that is so awesome, and
Yeah.
I can imagine a conference like that or an event like that, how much it charges you, and it just pumps you up and holds you for the long period of time. So awesome.
Absolutely. To share just a little bit about why I was there in the first place is it was a hackathon that was hosted by Ken G and Posit. And it was my first hackathon, actually. So I was nervous on so many levels of, meeting all these people for the first time and it being my first hackathon. So it was just so lovely. And the hackathon itself was actually recorded, and Ken G has a whole fun video recap of it on his YouTube channel if you're interested in watching that. Our team was myself, Makiko, and Alex the analyst. And we had such a fun time working together. It was, I forget if it was 4 hours, I think. It was just such a short period of time that went by way too fast. And it was just such a good energy in the room because everybody was working in one large living room, and oh my gosh, I want to do it again. I hope that group, or a version of that group, does something similar to that in the future. Ken, I'm talking to you.
Wow. So you met Alex in real life. Wow. Wow.
There were so many people there.
So many people, right? I was invited to do a panel with him. Actually, yes, and we did that in Ben's Rogojan conference. So Seattle data guy, and
yes.
The three of us did that panel about career and stuff. And wow, he's an amazing person. I mean, both of them, all of them are amazing people. So it's such a community, right? Like, yes. And everybody just gives, and that is amazing. That is amazing. Mm-hmm. Wow. What problem did you solve in the hackathon? I mean,
I think we were given a data set of it was like a rideshare bicycle type data set, and we were just trying to build an app to better do the check-in process.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is super cool. And I mean, a hackathon is a nerve-wracking event on its own. Yeah. And then to do it, well, I'm super happy you had that much fun. So, well, I guess that gives us kind of a good segue into discussing adaptability, right? Because you had to adapt to a different setting, doing different things, the coding, and when you work on a team, it's a bit different than working on your own when you're your own boss and etc. Right? And everybody there being so professional and so higher level, right? Would be huge followers and everything. Who decides who's the boss, who's in charge, etc., etc. Like, wow! It's now my mind goes in on a different direction. Like the topics that you followed throughout the season, right? The management side of things and who's in charge and all of that. So this topic of adaptability came in as a kind of a joke follow-up, right, for us, but we're gonna take it serious because it's really a very important, serious topic. But I remember you posted, like, you shared with me that was a real situation, but the way it was presented, right, in the context of an interview situation where the interviewer asked the interviewee, what is your biggest, most important skill? And tell us how it goes from there. And I'll let you tell the story. You tell it very funny.
Yeah, so I was making my morning bagel, and I had been toasting it, so it was being toasted, and I noticed that I didn't have any cream cheese, and I was like, oh no, do I just, eat this plain toasted bagel, or what do I do? And so I noticed also that I had an avocado, and I was like, I don't know if that's a thing. I know avocado toast is a thing, so it might work well. And really, all you need is something creamy to go on top of it. And so I gave it a try. I was adaptable, and it actually turned out to be really, really amazing. I haven't tried it again since, but I guarantee it was very delicious. So yeah, I was just, while I was eating my avocado bagel, was thinking of posts like I do all the time. And I was like, this would be really funny to share as an example during an interview of how adaptable you are, right? Because you not only want to answer the question with like a good answer, but you want to stand out and have the interviewer remember you, right? So in my mind, I was like, well, that's a silly enough story. If I were the interviewer, I would definitely remember, oh, there was one person that we interviewed that had avocado on their bagel. Maybe we should think about hiring them because they're very adaptable.
So let's take that a little bit further. Why or who decides that avocado should not go on a bagel? Like really, to me, a bagel or a slice of bread, it's same dough kind of thing, right? It's the base for anything that you want to put on top, anything that, yes. So that's where my mind goes, right? So it's really a good, memorable example, because that's what it is, right? I guess in that context, right, in an interview, the person asking the question probably expects, I don't know, some very data related or any kind of tech related answer. So this may be throwing them off. The interviewee needs to adapt, but also the interviewer, right? Because if we are just there in a situation where we exchange predefined questions, answers, then what is that? Like we can have a conversation with with ChatGPT and probably come up with more interesting and fascinating answers that way.
Absolutely.
So I think that we live in this AI revolution, right? So the speed of the innovation is so fast, like it's overwhelming, right? And it's important that we are proactive and we educate ourselves. And personally, I really find this fascinating. Like just being the lifelong learner, right? And just so many opportunities to learn and grow. And what would you add here?
Yeah, you spot on. I'm all about continuous learning and also like mixing things with your background. So, I talk a lot about transferable skills. So, just applying skills to different settings where you don't think that would fit, just to see how it goes, right? And then when something new gets introduced, do that same thing and just try to use it in a way that is different than the way that other people are using it, and just see what happens.
Yeah, and with your fascinating guests in the last season, right? I'm sure you had some aha moments in those conversations, like the things they were sharing, right? And I remember watching Larry with his zombie data set, and I spoke about that, and I referenced in a conversation with other folks in our networks, right? It's just uh, to see how people bring their life and their own hobbies and passion into the work that I do, and just being so creative like that. So
Yeah, that topic was really good. So Larry Lathrop, or he calls himself the Google Sheets fanboy. We were talking about the topic of mock data, right? And this is very important, I think, now too, because of AI, in that like you don't want to be sharing any data through a Gen AI service because it could contain sensitive data. And so there are ways to kind of create your own set of data or mock data, fictitious data, whatever you want to call it. And Larry created his own, and it was all centered around zombies. And I think it was zombies in a zombie shop. So it had all kinds of different merchandise and whatnot. And I just thought that was such a really neat thing to put together. And he actually shared it out with the community. So if you want to check out his platform as well, you can grab you that data set as well.
I love that you transitioned us now into your first data love passion auditing, and you published the LinkedIn Learning course. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Like that is such an achievement, and just being there in their studios, right? And filming all of that, and then have the community react to it, and tell us a bit more about that if you want, please.
Yes, that was such a wonderful experience. I had been creating a course for LinkedIn Learning all around how to protect your data, specifically the sensitive data that you are using in your analytics and machine learning projects. And we go into different kinds of techniques in Python and all of that. It's a really, really neat course. So you should check it out if you're interested. But I was able to fly to California to their headquarters and actually film it with them. And that was the most wonderful experience in, creating such a formal course. I couldn't have imagined it going any better. Like, it was just like so perfect of an experience, and they were so nice, and the product turned out wonderful. They have such a great team over there, and just sharing out, my knowledge to others through different platforms. I'm so excited that it came true.
And while you were there, you also had a chance to do a live interview, right? With
Yes.
somebody there.
Yes. So I had a special live episode of the podcast. I talked with another instructor, Lily Zhang, and we both talked about our courses, what topics our courses covered, and also how our courses overlapped. So Lily's course is all about DEI, and within that DEI data, there is sensitive data elements. So we kind of talked about that combination of how to analyze that data to really get out the most insights that you can without potentially introducing any risks for the data.
Wow, that is so fascinating, and I'm sure I haven't watched the episode, but I'm gonna go watch it because I can already see how they overlap and how important both of them are, right? Especially now with AI and so many fakes out there, so it's so easy, unfortunately, to impersonate someone, right?
Yeah.
And especially in the landscape of DEI, right? Wow, my mind now just wonders. Yes.
Absolutely, check it out. It was so fun too because we got our own separate studio. They set it all up with mics, and it was so formal. They
Wow.
were so nice, and they recorded it for us, and it was an awesome experience.
How do you move from doing an episode like that with all the fancy equipment and whatnot and have a team behind? Yeah, wow. But it's a good experience, right? What other highlights, Monica, would you want to share? I mean, there were so many, and yes, I noticed that you changed the frequency, right, of the podcasts, and you attended a lot more conferences where you were a speaker and shared your knowledge in real life with folks in the community. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So another thing I found fascinating while I was putting together my Nerd Nourishment Spotify Wrapped was that I attended 8 conferences where I spoke at, which is double what I did the previous year. So that took me by complete surprise. I was, hoping that it would happen and I was putting myself out there, but just to see that change and that increase in how many I was able to present at, I was just like, blew me away.
Wow, congrats, Monica. So, speaking of this new year, you have plans, right? And I know you love teaching, you do coaching, you have your own coaching business, right? Which works side by side. That is teaching on its own, right? So these are your true passions. I suppose you will continuing your auditing, and of course the Nerd Nourishment podcast. So how do you envision this new season and this new year, right? It's
Yes. So the new season, I will be interviewing even more manager folks to get, I really loved that behind the scenes take of what they see in candidates and what really helps candidates stand out while they're interviewing. So I want to do more of that for sure in season 3. I cross my fingers, hope that I can do another live episode. That would be really awesome. But we'll see about that one. And aside from the podcast itself, I am still continuing on with my career coaching. I do have a data career strategy program where I do help folks transition from their 9 to 5s into a more data focused role by leveraging the skills that they already have and kind of building out that strategic plan to get to their goals. Something I'm excited about and new for this year is I plan on rolling out a group program as well. So I did have a couple folks that I was interviewing, doing some market research that were interested in maybe a group setting. So I'm going to roll that out. I'm not sure when quite yet, but that's something that I'm excited about exploring. And also, I have another LinkedIn Learning course that I'm working on that will be filmed fairly soon and available before the middle of the year, I'm sure.
wow, those are a lot of things. Congrats, Monica. So now I understand your hope for the live interview since you will be filming there. So chances are that that will happen. I hope
I
it
hope
does.
so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have a lot on the pipeline to look for. I'm gonna pedal back a little bit about the interviewing managers because we all have heard, right, the kind of terrible news coming up that there will be more layoffs and like huge numbers. And one of the big trends that I have seen and a lot of people are vocal about is with all these jobs that are posted, right, and thousands upon thousands of applicants. So maybe if you can give the audience some pointers on what have you heard? Like, I'm sure some consistency in what the managers you interviews, some trends are popping up, right?
Most of the manager folks that I interviewed were in the front half of the year. So at that time, we weren't really seeing anything like that. And the questions that I was asking really were centered around just what qualifications or what skills are you looking for in potential candidates. So you bring up a good point, and it's very interesting. I'll definitely jot that down for questions for future interviews. Absolutely, I think that's a great topic to explore.
I know you spoke about some of the tools, and yeah, we are all giddy, right? When we try something new and create stuff. What have you been using from these tools, and what do you find fascinating, or what obfuscates you?
I would say the main, at least Gen AI tool that I have been leveraging is ChatGPT. If anybody remembers, I used to summarize the podcast episodes using ChatGPT, and just taking out those key insights from each of these presenters and then posting them as a small blog post along with the episodes themselves. I got too busy to continue doing that, but I really do hope that this year I'll be able to produce more of those, especially because I have been seeing a lot of integrations of getting the transcript and summarizing it all in one, versus when I was doing it back in the beginning of last year, it was kind of very piecemeal. So hoping that, I can explore some new tools that have come out that can help me leverage that.
Right, learning never stops, and there's an abundance of learning, and sometimes it's just we have to be so picky with what we watch, what we learn, what we read. I mean, I think if we would spend 24/7 just absorbing all the knowledge that is thrown at us, and maybe would just reach a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of it. Any conferences you are looking forward to present this year?
I actually already have one lined up in February. I am able to present at a local conference called Cactus Con, and it is a security conference. So I'll be talking about protecting your data and how machine learning algorithms can go rogue sometimes if you don't protect the data that you are using to train your algorithms. So that one's going to be really fun.
Wow, that is so fascinating. Yeah, you have a very, very detailed and condensed plan of a lot of things, right? That will happen in this new season, in this new year. What are you most what are you looking forward most to? I guess it's all excitement, right?
Absolutely. One new podcasting tool that I explored actually a little bit last year was one of my special episodes was an AI generated episode. I don't know if you caught that one, but I found a tool. It was called Notebook LM. And what you do is you give it whatever documentation and tell it what, kind of what type of episode you want that podcast to be surrounded, the topic. And you hit go, it generates the episode. And what I found the most fascinating was the interaction between the two podcasters and how they kind of like built off of each other. They would laugh at each other's jokes, and I want to explore more of that, to be honest. What I specifically gave it was something very boring, and I wanted to see if it could make it interesting. I think it did. The topics audit, so I don't know if anybody else will find it as interesting as I did, maybe other auditors. But I gave it some audit standards and had it talk about those standards in a fun way. I thought they did an amazing job. I'm saying they, the two AI podcasters.
It's possible. It's possible that I watched it, and this brings. Yes, I know the Google tool, and it's very interesting because prior to the tool coming out, I did an intense training on Up Limit, and we are actually we. I built a project. All of us, we built a project that was doing exactly that. So from scratch, and we did we had to use APIs and LangChain and some libraries out there, right? So we did it from scratch in the sense that we build the pipelines to do it. So we did that ourselves. And I know for myself, I chose first I asked ChatGPT to generate me a very boring book chapter on soil or something, and then I used that as the input to the talking podcasters, and I chose the most boring voices, and I use it to help me fall asleep. Like,
Oh, smart.
yes, because you have the like it's awesome, and one of the things that I'm looking forward with that particular tool, right, is a more diversity of voices, because they are either very what should I say, very out there, very up there, or very boring, and we need a middle ground. And obviously I would love my own voice at some point, but then I'm scared about all the PII problems, right? So do you want to add something to that? Because really I'm using AI, but I'm so scared about all the video and how easy it is to fake and to take the voice. And please, if you want to take us into that direction, because this must be top of mind to most folks.
Absolutely. I could talk about this forever and it gets really scary, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I will say, when it comes to phone calls, be very careful as to what phone calls that you're taking and what you are sharing with the person on the other end, because a lot of those people that are on the other end are not people anymore, and they are using recording to capture your voice, so then they can do things like steal your identity and such. That's just one thing that I'll share that I find is super important that people should be aware of. But there's so much out there that is being done, and it does get very scary, unfortunately.
Yeah, and actually, I want to pick your brains on this, because I've noticed a trend when registering for webinars, for instance, right? Events online. And several of them, not all, but several of them ask also for a phone number. And I know I wrote an article about that, because it's really, so they have your name, your email, and the phone number. So your two-factor authentication are out the door, so somebody can just pull in that data, right? And that's it. That's all they need. They will spoof your phone, and they bypass everything. And I don't know, shouldn't there be some regulation against that? It's just so frustrating. And I've witnessed this every time. I am not going to name companies, right, when that happens, because I'm learning a lot from that. But every time I do a webinar with that particular company, that day I receive messages on my phone, impersonators and whatnot. So it's a correlation. And I know enough to know that I'm not just making this up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, because that kind of data collection has been going on for a very long time, and it stems from it being a sales funnel, right? So they capture your information so that they can contact you further and try to sell you some services. But now, of course, in the world that we live in, that information can be used in other nefarious purposes. What I would say is one thing that you can do is get yourself I think it's Google Voice. Google Voice allows you to get a phone number and to have that be the phone number that you use for those types of conference signups and registrations.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think for myself, I didn't know about the Google Voice thing, But I was thinking, I'm just going to put there the digits from 1 to 9, and that's it.
Oh, yes. You can always use Full House's phone number, whatever your area code that you want to choose, and 555-2424.
Okay, sure. At the beginning, I did not realize, right, that it will be a nefarious effect. And then I thought, okay, I need to protect myself. But yeah, it was important to, yeah, it's something that is top of mind, right? And we rely so much. The browser stores the passwords. We rely so much on these things because our memory is just not able to capture all the passwords and whatnot, right? I mean,
Yeah. It's such a strange line now between like you having to prove that it is you yourself, but then by you providing that information is now in somebody else's hand to then do the same thing if they wanted to. It's a very, very weird line that we're starting to see being crossed. One example you mentioned about the conference registrations requiring your phone number. I actually ran into a job application when you are, just filling out a job application that asked for the last 4 digits of your social. That is something that I have never seen before, and that I do not understand why they needed that information. I ended up not applying for that position.
You know what? Now that you mentioned, a friend of mine mentioned something similar, and she said that she's seen this a lot more frequent,
Wow.
and they let it. So the process keeps going on to the point of security check and credit security check, and that should not be part of the process, right?
Maybe once you get employed, part of the onboarding process, sure.
Exactly, but not in so I think the job market being so bad, right? Not to be doomsayer, but really, folks are desperate, and now all these charlatans are exploiting the situation, really, because it's all exploitation, and they exploit. We get all these on LinkedIn, right? All the pop-ups and I wrote a post a few days ago, and folks were contributing to that, and there are a lot of fake accounts, and they impersonate a recruiter, and they when you receive a message like that, of course you want to continue the conversation, and there were people who actually dug a little deeper. You immediately can uncover, really, if you just spend less than a minute, you can uncover the truth. And folks using famous people's pictures, and so we get so busy, and maybe if you are doing this on the phone, you don't notice because it's tiny, but maybe you want to highlight a few red flags that we should look for in this situation. And I always say, spend a little time, like seconds, and just click on that profile, check that that's a person. LinkedIn actually provides this validation of your identity with clear, and look for that. Look when the account was created, when it was updated, so that the information is there. So in under a minute, you can uncover a lot of information. So take that time, and just, the excitement of a recruiter contacting you and offering something, it's huge, right? And we get a rush of dopamine, and we want to do it right away, but take a minute, like a literal minute, and
Absolutely.
protect yourself.
Yes. Just kind of step back and think critically about the situation that you're in. Use your professional skepticism and problem solving. Ramona talked about detective skills. Those are great. What by you just describing this, it just reminds me this is kind of an evolution of a phishing email.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we have to pay attention because because of the new laws, right, that came in at the beginning of the year, and especially Google is filtering. And I always have to check my spam because sometimes good emails get into there. But you know, that's another thing, right? To read any Substack, you subscribe and then you decide you don't want to. But some, and also some other newsletters, right? I got to a point where I couldn't unsubscribe, and
Oh.
I had to put those email addresses in the spam filter, to filter it and to go straight to spam. So there are so many platforms, right? And so many things that when my Gmail account is reaching 70% plus, I don't want to have to start to pay just so I accumulate junk information.
Yeah.
So, but we always have to do the cleaning, and it's just it exponentially growing. Like you apply to one thing, and then you get 10, and then it becomes 100, and it's just it's so massive. Like this year I want to deploy agents, AI agents, to take care of that for me.
There you go.
That's my my goal.
That's a good use case. I like that.
And when I have all that set up, I should share it so others can do it.
I
Yeah.
love that. I'll look out for that.
We are coming to the top of the hour, Monica. So, any lasting thoughts, things you want to share?
Just how blessed that I am to have my dear friend Ramona continue this tradition with me. Thank you so much for this recap. I love all of the chats that we have, and I'm excited to continue this as a tradition in the years to come.
Oh, Monica, I am equally blessed and more. And thank you for everything that you do for the community, for me personally. And I wish you an amazing year. Everything that you share that you have in the pipeline, I hope everything works out and some. And looking forward to continue the tradition, and maybe one day we get lucky enough to meet in person.
Yes, that would be so
And
awesome.
cheers.
Cheers. All right. Well, we have a sign off here in the Data Podcast for Nerds. And as always, folks, happy learning.